Hi guys, today's lesson is solving system of equations and inequalities graphically. What is a system of equations? A system of equations is a system of two or more equations to solve for two or more variables. The solution for a system of two equations is a point xy that satisfies both equations. It's a point that is on both lines. One of the methods to solve a system of equations is graphing. Let's solve this system of equations graphically. We have y equals negative 2x minus 1 and y equals 2x minus 5. We have a system of two equations in the slope-y-intercept form, which makes it easier to graph. So the slope for my first equation is negative 2 and the y-intercept is negative 1. So I'm going to graph this line first, where I need to start with negative 1. And now use the slope of negative 2 over 1 to graph a second point. Negative 2 over 1 means I'm going 2 units down, 1 unit to the right, to graph the points on the line. And I'm going to do that from both sides of the y-intercept. Now I have a line. All I need to do is to label my line. Y equals negative 2x minus 1. Now we need to graph the other line. We have a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of negative 5. So I'm going to begin at negative 5. And then I'm going to use the slope to find my other points. I have a slope of 2 over 1, which means I'm going 2 points or 2 units up, 1 unit to the right, 2 units up, 1 unit to the right, from both sides of the y-intercept. So now all I need to do is to graph my line and label my line. Y equals 2x minus 5. And by looking at the graph, we see that the intersection point is right here. And this point is on both lines. And this point is 1, negative 3, which is the point of intersection, the solution of the system of equations. Now, to use the TI-84 calculator to graph this system, I need to start with putting the equation down in the calculator in y equals. I'm going to put the first equation in y1, which is negative 2x, negative 2x minus 1. And then I'm going to put my second equation in y2. And I'm going to put 2x minus 5. Now, if I graph my two equations, I'm going to see the intersection point on my graph. And the calculator can find that intersection point by pressing second trace to find the intersection point, which is 5. And then the calculator is going to ask you about the curves. The first curve is the blue line. I'm going to hit enter. The second curve is the red line. I'm going to hit enter. And the intersection point is going to be 1, negative 3. And if you look at the table actually can help us both graph the first line and the second line and verify the intersection point. So if we look at this graph, we'll find out that x equals 1 Both y1 and y2 has the same values for y, which means that 1, -3 is the intersection point. And again, you can always use the table in the calculator to help you graph um, your lines. Now let's graph this system of inequalities. We have two inequalities. The first one is y greater than -2x plus 5. This is an inequality in the slope by intercept form. It has a slope of -2 and it has a y-intercept of 5. The second inequality is y less than or equal to 4x minus 1. This inequality is in the slope y-intercept form. It has a slope of 4 and a y-intercept of -1. So let's graph the first inequality. We need to start at 5 and use the slope to graph another point. So from 5, I need to go 2 units down, 1 unit to the right, 2 units down, 1 unit to the right. And I keep doing the same thing until I cannot graph no more. Now, if we look at this inequality, we have a greater than. That means that I'm going to have to graph E dotted line. And then since we have greater than, we have to graph the half plane. And the half plane in this case is going to be all the values that are greater than the y-intercept right here, which means above the line. Now we need to graph the second inequality that we have here. So for the second inequality, I need to start graphing at 4, at -1. And then I need to use the slope to graph another point. That means I need to go 4 units up, 1 unit to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1. And do the same thing on the other side, the opposite side. So since we have less than or equal to, that means I'm going to make a solid line. So I'm going to connect all these units in a solid line. Now, since I have less than, that means I need to shade all the value or the half plane below the line. So that means for this inequality, I'm going to have to shade in this area below the line to include the values that are less than the y-intercept in this case. So the area where both half planes intersect is called the solution. This area, which is the intersection of the two half planes, is called the solution for the system of inequalities because any point in this intersection area is going to satisfy both inequalities.